I had no idea where I was. I had no idea where I was in placing. I had no idea, but I knew that this was my time. This was my run. It was time for me to make shit happen. So I take off and I get into probably like into the 5K, so a little bit in town. I felt really good. Nutrition was spot on. I didn't have any GI distress. If you all follow me, sometimes I deal with that a lot, but I finally have figured it out. I have. And if you have GI distress, please reach out to me, jen@jenrulon.com, because thank goodness for my coach and trial and error, I really figured this shit out. No pun intended. So anyways, so I take off on my second lap and I just had so much energy. And I get to, I get into the little town of Tremblant, and I felt good. I was like, okay, I think it's Coke time. So about mile 15 is when I started taking in that Coke. And I saw Chris and he goes, go do it. So here's the thing. I saw women ahead of me and I wanted to turn around and like look at their numbers on their legs, but I was like, no, you just got to focus on your own. So I see this girl ahead of me, and we're going out for the second lap, but that third 10K is really what it, like 10.3, right? We're going out. And I see her, and her age group was like 28. I was like, okay, cool. I'm good, you know? And then I passed her. I was like, oh, here I was trying to catch you, but you're not in my age group. And she goes, thank goodness you're not in my age group. So I take off. And like, I felt like passing people actually fueled me. Why? Because my dearest friend, Joanna Garza, I got to give her props. So she said to me the night before the race, she goes, Jen, think of 1985. I want you to be a Pac-Man. And I'm like, what? She goes, I want you to go out and just gulp people up and get the energy from those people. Get that power from those people. So when I was going past people, I was like, gulp, gulp, gulp. And it's so funny. I mean, it's just such a great analogy. But where I got a lot of my power from was, I mean, it sounds terrible, but passing people in my age group. Because I honestly, I had no idea where I was. And thank goodness Vicky didn't say, hey, you're in 10th or you're in 12th or whatever, because that would have probably freaked me out. I just had to race my race. So I saw this woman ahead of me in my age group, and I heard her heavy breathing. And I thought, how is she going to sustain that for the next, I guess it was like 12K to go. Like, I thought there's no way she could sustain that. And so I go past her in my little good motion, feeling good. And she's like, oh my gosh, she's like, go get him. I go, I have no idea where I'm at, but I gotta go. She goes, go for it. And she was fantastic. Like, we just helped each other out, and we saw each other on the other side, and we were like, you know. So I passed her there. And then I come up, going back into the little town, so maybe about 6K to go, 7K, I see 3 women, and 2 women were in my age group and 1 was not. And I went past them. And this one woman that I saw, I was thinking, oh, how am I going to get her? You know, like, she's way ahead of me, but I got her. And so when I saw her, I was like, oh. So there was my power. There was my power of getting faster, being more engaged into my run, into my jam, right? So, you know, I'm doing Coke at this time. I'm still doing my EFS, the liquid shots at that time as well. I think I stopped that around mile 21, 22. I did the Humagel at an hour, and then I pretty much had 42 minutes to go. And so I went pretty much on water and Coke and base salts the rest of the way to the finish line. So I saw those 3 women. I passed them. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. Once again, still had no idea where I was. So then I get to a part of the race. So if you're coming up, if you're going out, you're going up a hill. But if you're coming back home, you go around this little path, but then you go down a hill. And so I saw a woman in my age group coming out of a bathroom, and I was like, you got to take that. You got to take that. And so I pushed so hard going down that hill because I knew that if I stayed ahead just that little bit, that was going to help me going home. So I went around the corner. I knew I had 3 hills left or 2 hills left. So I crest a little hill. I didn't really call that a hill. I come down, and I knew when I went around when I went around to get some nutrition, I was going home. I saw the marina, and I was fucking going home. So what happened was I grabbed a Coke, I grabbed water, and I was like, it's go time. So I knew I was going to hit a pretty steep hill. It's where the Red Bull tent is. I knew I had hit a pretty steep hill, and then I knew I had to hit a gradual hill before I went to that finish line. So I knew I had to pull back, but not go all out at that time. So I went past the marina just smiling and just ecstatic. And then I turned up that hill and I was like, you're going to run it. That's the key about an Ironman run. If you want a good run, you got to run the whole thing. Even if you shuffle up that hill, even if that hill is a 9:30 or a 10, you have to run it. You have to run it. If you walk, then then in your mind, I feel that, oh, well, if I walked here, then I could walk here and I could walk there. I could walk there. So I ran up that hill. When I crest that hill, I was like, okay, wings, butterflies, owls, let me fly home. Let me fly home. And I went down and I was like that little kid. I just opened up my arms and I just fell. Not fell, but I fell down, like I went down that hill, and it hurt. It hurt like a son of a gun. And I started that run and I get up the hill past the swim finish, turned into the special needs bag. I'm like, nope, I'm going home. And they're like, woohoo! And I come around and I come into the village, and it was all downhill at that time, and people were screaming. My smile was the biggest you probably have ever seen, because 1, I knew my husband was going to be at the finish line. 2, I knew my family was going to be at the finish line. But 3, I knew that I had the race of my life. I knew that I had the run that I wanted to have at Ironman Mont Tremblant. So there was a guy ahead of me, and I was like, screw it, I gotta go. I crossed the finish line and I'll have to show you the video, and jump for joy and ecstatic. And I put my hands in my head and I just said, oh my God, I did it. I don't know what I did, but I did it. And then I heard Mike Riley say, under 11 hours, Jen Rulon. Come to find out, I did a 10:59:31, and that was my goal. I looked to my left. I saw my sister-in-law, Taryn and Jackson, and I go up and hug them. I just screamed, and they were like, oh my God, Jen, Aunt Jennifer, you did so good. You did so good. And I looked and there was a photographer there, and I'll share this photo, but I just like screamed at the camera. I was like, I did it. I don't know what I did, but I did it, right? So then I go back, and there Chris was, and I just started crying. I just started bawling. It was so good to see his face, and he goes, he's like, I'm so fucking proud of you. And I just started crying. I'm like, I did it. That was the epic race of my life. I did it. And people were like, did you know like how you did? No, I didn't. I did not know how I did. So we shuffle around, we get our dry clothes bags, we come out. At that time, I was like, I just need water and I need a Coke or Sprite at that time. But that wasn't even tasting good. So we go out, we see, everybody. I saw Vicky and my niece and nephew and hugged and blah, 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 got pictures. And so we were just trying to figure out what to do. We're like, okay, why don't we go shower? We'll come back, get our stuff. And Vicky's like, do you want to know how you did? I'm like, oh yeah, do you have the results? And she's like, yeah. And so she's like, do you want to know? I'm like, yes, I want to know. And she looks and she goes, Jen, you placed third. Excuse me? You placed third. And I said, can you show me who's in first? And I looked and it was Fiona. And Fiona already got a slot at Ironman Texas this year. I picked this race because I have seen 2 slots the last couple years at Ironman Mont Tremblant. I knew that I was going to Kona that day, but I had to wait to tell everybody because I did not know for sure. I wanted to share the world. Oh my God, I'm going to Kona. But I didn't know that because I knew Fiona had a slot. I didn't know if second place had a slot. So then if I got it, then that's, it would be second place and third, right? So, but who knew? I didn't know. And I actually started crying when I found out that I was third and I was third. And I started bawling. And my niece comes over and gives me a hug. And she looks at me, she goes, are you going to Kona, Aunt Jennifer? And I go, I hope so, baby. I hope so. The cool thing about this all is my husband placed second in his age group. And there's a lot more slots for men, so we knew he was going to Kona, or he qualified for sure. I was on cloud 9, and honestly, y'all, I'm still on cloud 9 because I went up to get my award and placed, and still was third place that Monday morning. Got my award. I talked to Fiona. Fiona's like, yeah, I already got it. I talked to the second place woman. She's like, I'm not going to Kona. And she goes, looks like you are. You guys, this has been a dream since 1989. When I talked to my grandfather and said, Grandpa, I want to do that race. I want to do Ironman Kona. And when he told me he would come and watch me, well, Grandpa, guess what? You better get that flight to Kona because we're going. I've been like this for the last week of tearing up. You guys don't understand. I think a lot of you do, but it just means so much to me. I had so many people reach out and just screaming and yelling, and oh my God, it's been such a whirlwind. But here's the thing, you guys. It's not just me going to Kona, but it's you all pretty much going to Kona too with me. So get those lays out because we're going to Kona together. Truly, you guys, my cup runneth over.